Nice to see you too.
You don't know what's going to happen from day to day, but there's support there for you, which there hasn't been in the St. Louis area, really in the country, for caregivers. There's a ton of support for stroke patients themselves, which is wonderful, but the caregivers have nothing. I'm a health professional myself. I'm a registered nurse, a background in neuroscience. I would be the perfect person to be the spouse of a stroke patient. Not true. When you walk into that room, when your husband or wife has a stroke, you are no longer a health professional. You are a deer in the headlights, basically. June 23rd, 2021 at 3 p.m., he's like, something is really wrong. And within minutes, he was full out stroke symptoms. Called 911. They had him here in CAT scan within 20 minutes. By the time I got here, they had already identified the stroke and then were trying to save his life, basically. Within 20 minutes, he was already being treated. I remember going in the ER and then going to the ICU and sitting there thinking, wait a minute, I used to spend years helping people get out of the ICU. I knew from a medical standpoint what to kind of expect, but from a spouse, I had no idea. I started Googling everything, and there's just not a lot out there. What I learned with my husband, we were here for 4 weeks in the intensive care unit. He doesn't remember any of it. It's more of a cognitive, neurological problem. We still have some physical problems, with the walking. He can't walk without thinking about it. You and I walk. He has to truly think about it. I have 2 adult children, always been very close to their dad and would always go to him for advice. And what do you think, Dad? What do you think about this? And both of them have shared with me that it's a grieving process, that although he is there, he's a different person, totally different person. So it's like they grieve who they had. We have 2 grandchildren, 10 and 6. They are great with him. He gets very frustrated because he knows what he was like. He knows what he could do before, and then when he can't do something, you could just see the sadness in his eyes, and he's always concerned about being a burden. Very challenging for me because, you have this person you've been with for 40 years, and you have these plans for the future, and all of a sudden, 3 p.m. that day, our life changed. I had to retire. Traveling is difficult. You can't have those conversations anymore. All of a sudden, you are now responsible for 100% of your lives versus a partnership. I was looking for books from Amazon, like how to navigate this. Just nothing. Everything was about the stroke patient, which is wonderful, but to be honest, that didn't relate to me. I'm a journaler. I love to journal, and so every day I would write what was happening. And then I realized, as a health professional, if I'm struggling, can you imagine someone that has never been in a hospital before? So after my husband stabilized and came home and everything, I started writing this book, Stroke and the Spouse. And then I met with the stroke coordinators here at Mercy and just said, I think there's a real need here. And we talked about it, and they're like, yeah, there really is. And so they've been promoting my book. They were trying to get it into the hands of everyone here. But the neat thing was they were really interested in that caregiver because they realized very quickly that chances of coming back in the hospital are a lot less if you have an educated caregiver, someone that knows what's going on, understands what's going on, and is part of the process. And they were so excited to be able to provide something for caregivers. But they also saw that there was a need, and then asked me if I could fill that.
At the end of the night, I said back, okay, where did they terminate?
This is the place that saved my husband's life. How I handled it was writing this book. For me, helping others helps me. Once a week, sometimes more often, depending on the needs, I will come to the volunteer office, I check in, and then I go to the stroke coordinator office. And there I get a list of patients that have had a stroke or some type of brain injury. I then go from room to room, meeting the caregivers, and really to explain to them that been there, done that. It's not a pleasant situation to be in. There's not a lot of support for you. They get so excited to have someone that actually sits down and says, how are you doing? What do you need? Mercy cares about you. You'd be amazed at the things they tell me. And a lot of times it's just, they just want to know that someone made it to the other side.